Hello everyone, welcome to our discussion on social organization. In this session, we'll be discussing in detail about the social organization in insect and the caste system and the organization in ants. Social behavior is a complex combination of the costs and benefits of living in groups, dominance interactions, conflict between the sexes, and nepotism. That is when they live in groups, which is composed of relatives and cooperation. Nepotism means it is favoring of relatives when you are living in a group. That is favoring a relative for say, for a if you take our circumstances, favoring our relatives for job, favoring our relatives for some, or recommending our relatives for some particular process, for some post, etc. Such processes are usually referred to by the term nepotism. So when you have, or in social groups also, you can see nepotism in animals. The diversity of the social behavior has provided significant material for evolutionary biologists interested in understanding the natural selection and the process of evolution. So, moving on to the social organization in insects, social organization is most developed in insects. Although an insect society has thousands of members, they all constitute one family. Majority of the members are busy in activities that will end in the production of more individuals by the queen. These individuals are molded into different castes by the feeding action, or different castes are created because of the feeding pattern, and also some genetic machinery works in determining the caste in an insect colony. Insects are eusocial or have true societies, and they exhibit eusociality. And they exhibit eusociality by cooperation among members of the same species, division of labor, and there will be at least two generations which is overlapping in the colonies of insects. Moving on to the social organization in ants. Ants are excellent foragers and work hard without any rest. Ants are probably the most highly developed social insects, and each colony contains at least one queen. Ants have no wings except in sexual forms in the breeding season, and therefore their job of traveling to long distances in search of food is very difficult, but they are very addicted to work. Ants are having the very highest developed social system next to man, with no apparent conflict in the society. A colony may have few thousand to over 500,000 individuals. Extreme devotion to duty and the attitude binds them together, and this attitude binds them together. The nests are usually underground and are made up of numerous passages and chambers, and are usually called as the formic area. The nest or the chambers are called as the formic area. The chambers are used as granaries for storing seeds and nurseries for rearing their progenies. Like honeybees, and societies or and social groups also have something which is called as polytheism, which means castes are specialized to carry out special duties in the colony. That means there will be a special caste to carry out a special duty. That is what is called as polytheism. Polymorphism is common in ants. Polymorphism in the sense that because there are caste system, individuals of each caste is having different morphology. Ant colony usually consists of four main castes. They are the queens, the kings, the workers, and the soldiers. The queens are otherwise called as the gynts. They are large, fertile females with wings. They have a large abdomen to lay a lot of eggs, something around 2 to 3 million in an year. And the males or the kings fertilize her. They have a well developed reproductive system and are the larger of or the larger ones in the colony. It has two pairs of membranous wings that are shed after mating. Their mandibles are normal and their sole duty is to lay eggs. They may have a lifespan of 15 or even 30 years. The ant colony might have, or in some ant colony, they might have several queens. And in such cases, when there are, if you see more than one queen in a colony, you can see that there might be size differences in the queens. If the queens are larger, they are called as microgynes, and the relatively smaller ones are called as the smaller ones are called as the microgynes. The other ones are called as the macrogynes, the larger ones. Moving on to the second type or the second caste in the ant colony, which is the kings, otherwise called as the males or the anners. They are the fertile males with wings, and they also have a well developed reproductive system. And males, like in honeybees, here also the males are developed from unfertilized eggs, which is laid by the queen. So the queen lays unfertilized eggs that usually develops into, or uh, the 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 queens lay the eggs, and the queen decides which eggs or what number of eggs should be fertilized. If the egg is being fertilized by the sperm, which is deposited by a male in the spermatheca of the female, that particular eggs or that particular zygotes will develop into females, and they will divide into workers, soldiers, and queens, etc. But for the production of the male, what happens is it is by the type of development, special type of development, which is called as Parthenogenesis, where an individual develops from an unfertilized egg. The same thing happens here. The same thing happens in honeybee. The males develop from an unfertilized egg, and hence they are haploid. So the entire body, usually these organisms are diploid, the females are diploid, but here the males will be haploid. As a result, in the reproductive system, meiosis or that particular division does not happen, and the sperms are produced in their body or in their gonads by the division which is called as mitosis, because they are haploid. And in some cases or in some colonies, it is observed that when queens are absent, or if queens are dead or queens are absent, rarely you can see or you can find colonies where queens are absent. In such cases, it is reported that the workers, in normal cases, the workers, we'll discuss about the workers in the next session. In normal cases, the workers are sterile. But when the queens are absent, the workers start laying eggs. The workers cannot be fertilized by, or the workers are not mated by a male. As a result, they do not get the sperms. As a result, they cannot fertilize eggs. But in the absence of a queen, these workers they lay eggs, and they are unfertilized again, they develop into males. But in a normal colony, when queens are present, the workers are completely sterile, they do not lay eggs. So coming to the males, as we said, they are developed from unfertilized egg, the process which is called as parthenogenesis. Like queens, the males also have two pairs of wings. They are smaller than the queens and the soldiers, but larger than the workers. Their size, according to their size, they are smaller to queens and soldiers, but they are larger than the workers. They have smaller head, reduced mandibles, longer antennae, and well-developed sense organs. And their sole function, or the sole function in the colony, is to fertilize the queens. They are dimorphic. The larger sized ones are called as macroanus, and the smaller sized males are called as the microanus. The males are having a lifespan of they are having a very short lifespan because the males usually die after fertilization. When a male is fertilizing a queen, that will result in the end of the life of the male. The male will die soon after mating with the queens. Workers or ergates. They are wingless, sterile females with reduced or non-functional reproductive system. They are the smallest wingless members of the colony, having a reduced thorax, a small gaster or a small abdomen, and very small eyes. Workers are having a broad, sharp mandibles for cutting and chewing, but their eyes are small. The main function of the workers in the colony is to care for the eggs and larvae, collect food for the other members of the colony, maintain proper temperature and humidity in the colony, and construct and repair the nest. Food sharing among the workers or food sharing among the workers is a method of communication in ants, and they also are dimorphic, including larger sized macroaggregates and the smaller size microaggregates. So this the difference in morphology is also observed among these groups or in the workers. So, and as I said earlier, these particular ones, the workers, they are usually sterile or they are made sterile because of the pheromones which is secreted by the queen. That is, in the presence of a queen in a colony, the workers will be sterile. The workers are sterile. They cannot lay eggs. Their reproductive system will be underdeveloped. But I said in special condition, when queens are absent in a colony, they will lay eggs, but they are not fertilized by or they are not copulated by a male. As a result, they will not, they cannot uh, uh, fertilize or they cannot fertilize an egg and create diploid embryos. The eggs which is produced by workers in the absence of queens will give rise to males by parthenogenesis, and that happens only in the absence of the pheromones which is produced by the queens. The queens, what they do is because they are the only reproductive individuals to maintain their reproductive strategy in the colony, they produce the pheromones which makes these workers sterile. Coming to the last group, which is the soldiers or the denegrates, they are modified workers and are sterile females. They are next to the queen in size and they are wingless. They have a large head with powerful mandibles for fighting. And they are the ones which defend the colony from the enemies by biting and stinging. They also can crush seeds, fruits, etc. So the formation of caste or the sex determination is based on two theories. One is the genetic theory, as I said, the workers develop from unfertilized egg, and the queens, workers, etc. They develop from fertilized eggs. The trophy. There is one more theory which uh, also explains the caste system and the formation of the caste system in insects. That is the trophic theory. That is similar larvae grown into different castes, and that is due because they receive different kinds and quantities of food. That is also true because the queens and the workers and the soldiers, they are similar in their genetic constitution because they develop from fertilized eggs. But the only difference is, or they are divided into different castes because they are fed by different types of food. The queens are fed in larger amount. As a result, they have greater size, or they attain greater size, and they become the queen. The others have different partitions of or different portions of food, generating different castes among them. The offspring which is produced in an ant colony include the wingless female workers, the winged males, and the winged females, which usually become the virgin queens. New colonies are established by males and young queens after a short mating flight, which is usually called as the nuptial flight. So during mating flight, what the queen does is that the queen will carry, because it is larger in size, the queen will be carrying a dozen of workers clinging onto her legs. Workers live for a few years, whereas a male dies soon after the mating flights. The wingless female workers is not fertilized by the male, but the eggs are laid by them, which develop into male. That is, as I said, it is only under special circumstances. Ants are having a very poor eyesight and are deaf, but are highly sophisticated, are having a highly sophisticated chemical language for communication. They possess glands that secrete pheromones for communication. So pheromones are the chemical messages detected by other ants through the sense organs or the antenna. The process called as the chemoreception. Ants also send tactile signals by touching, stroking each other's body with their antenna and forelegs. Ants mark scent trails on the grounds, and other foragers are attracted towards these trails to locate the food. The queen ant reproduces quickly, and the larvae live in group in open chamber and galleries and exhibit trophallaxis phenomenon. So this is a mutual exchange of food between adults and larvae of the colony. The ant's food consists of microorganisms, but in few cases it may be nectar, flowers, honeydew, which is released from aphids. Next is about the swarming and the nuptial flight of the ants. Commonly in the rainy season or during the first rain, this nuptial flight can be seen. The winged ants, they start to fly. You can see many winged ants flying from the underground chambers of these of their nest during this particular the first rain of the year. So they prefer the first rain because nest can be prepared by the soldiers and the queen. A new nest can be prepared by the soldiers only in a soft and moist soil. So the first rain makes it soft. As a result, they can create a new, or they can produce a new colony or a new nest. So that is why this happens during the first rain. So commonly during the first rains, the adult queens, the kings leave the nest because they are both having the wings. They leave, and as I said earlier, the queen will carry the smaller workers on her legs, and they fly in the air. And this flying is called as a swarming or the nuptial flight. It often occurs simultaneously in many colonies. As a result, cross fertilization happens. Mating usually takes place in the air, and the kings usually die after mating. Thus, the mortality of males are usually high during or after the nuptial flight. So, this is all about the caste system and the different types of development and the nuptial flight, etc., in the ant colony. In the next session, we'll be discussing about the social organization in mammals.